Activity and course completion. One of the best things about TOTRA is the ability to generate multiple reports revolving around learner completion. To generate these reports, you must first set completion at the activity and resource level, as well as set total course completion. Let's learn how. Before completion settings will appear, there are two administrative settings to enable. Click the Site Administration gear in the top navigation bar and select Advanced Features. Locate Enable Completion Tracking and Default Completion Tracking. Both settings should already be enabled by default, but when initially setting up your TOTRA site, it isn't a bad idea to ensure these settings are turned on. Courses in TOTRA can be compared to a digital classroom in that they are a collection of activities and resources. Completion criteria can be set for individual activities within a course, and then you can select which activities are required for course completion. When choosing your activity completion criteria, it is recommended to remain consistent between activities. If you set too many completion elements, it can lead to learner frustration or confusion. Before activity or resource completion can be set, completion tracking must be enabled within the course settings. To do this, go to Course Administration, Edit Settings, and scroll to the Completion Tracking section. Ensure that Enable Completion Tracking is set to Yes. You can also choose to mark as In Progress on first view. This will begin tracking a user's progress in a course in multiple possible reports when they view the course instead of when they complete the first activity that has completion enabled. In our example, we will be setting completion on a quiz. To do this, turn editing on, click the edit icon next to the quiz, and scroll to the activity completion section located near the bottom of the page. First, you will choose how completion tracking will be handled for this activity. There are three options to choose from. Do not indicate activity completion, students can manually mark the activity as completed, and show activity as complete when conditions are met. In some cases, you may not want to track completion on an activity or resource. If this is what you would like to do, choose to not indicate activity completion. In other cases, you want the user to manually indicate they have viewed or completed something within a course. In this case, you would use the option Students can manually mark the activity as completed. In most situations, users are required to meet a set of criteria or a combination of set criteria. When this is the case, select Show Activity as Complete when conditions are met. If this is your choice, a variety of set conditional criteria are made available. Depending on the activity or resource, there may be more or fewer options. These options are dependent on the data the activity or resource can produce. For example, a quiz can produce a grade. Therefore, completion can be dependent on receiving a grade. Resources such as page, label, or file cannot produce a grade, and completion criteria may only be based on a view. For example, we are going to choose Student must receive a grade to complete this activity. This does not mean the learner has to pass the quiz, but simply complete the quiz with any grade. If it is important that your users receive a passing grade, you can select Require a Passing Grade. Just remember to enter the passing grade within the quiz settings. When you have made your completion setting selections, click Save and return to course. Once completion settings have been set for all activities and resources within your course, it is then important that you set overall course completion. Without course completion settings in place, the system will not know when to consider your users complete and therefore will not be able to report on them correctly. To do this, go to Course Administration, Course Completion. This screen has a variety of different completion criteria that can be set, including activity completion, completion of other courses, date, enrollment duration, course grade, and manual completion by student or instructor. However, there are some that are more commonly used over others, and some that the TOTRA completion reports are specifically reliant upon. It is recommended to try and minimize the number of completion criteria to avoid future learner and administrator frustration. First, you will choose if you are going to consider the course complete when any or all elements below this drop-down are met. In this case, you will select course is complete when all conditions are met. However, there are special use cases where any may need to be used. For our example, we are going to choose all. Next, you will decide if you are going to use one condition or a combination of conditions to consider the course complete. I am going to utilize the most commonly used option, activity completion. Here, you will see that I see multiple activities and resources to choose from. It is important to note only items that have some form of completion set within them will show on this list. If a course element is not showing on this list, and it should be, go back and check that activity or resource's completion settings. For our course, while we may want to track completion of other elements for other purposes, the primary course completion is going to revolve specifically around the completion of all the quizzes within the course. Therefore, we have checked the box next to only the quizzes. Once you have made your course completion setting selections, do not forget to save your changes. After saving these changes, you will see a notification typically displayed within a green box, letting you know that your completion criteria have been set, and any active participants, meaning individuals who may have been progressing through the course before your completion settings were set, will have the new criteria applied to them after the next cron run. It is worth mentioning that activity and course completion setting can be edited after completions have occurred. When this happens, you will be prompted to either delete the previous completions, which would require the users to recomplete the course/activity, or save the previous completions and apply the new completion settings for current and future enrollees. It is recommended that you choose to save previous completions and apply new conditions. Activity and resource completion and total course completion are critical to accurate reporting within TOTRA. If you ever experience completion reporting issues, the first troubleshooting step is to double-check your course completion settings.